Yeah, I've been in a good mood for most of the day, which feels extremely unnatural and strange. So I thought that maybe for me to bring my spirits back down to where they belong, I should quickly record this video. Because the title of this video, the literal phrase and its other variations, is something I've been asked on Reddit regularly for probably 3.5 years. And not once have I found the capacity to respond. This is the psychology why. Most of the time, I don't even see the question because I disable my reply notifications as soon as someone comes in and leaves a comment like, this looks like GTA 5. The Grand Theft Auto comments have been out of hand since day one. I don't blame people for this. Like, if you're a 21-year-old British kid and you've only experienced these design cues through video games, I get it. But I've read that comparison literally hundreds of times, and it's exhausting. I cannot do it anymore. I don't have it in me. Hey, look, believe me, I'm not a diva. I'm not trying to be full of myself, but if you sincerely want to engage with me, just read the comments. And if you see anything about GTA, just be aware that I'll probably not have seen anything after the time that comment was posted. Just being honest. Sometimes I come back to the thread to check it out, but most of the time I don't because it's going to be a mistake. It won't fuck my day up, but it will disappoint me. But, hey, check this out. I'll never answer that question anyway, not in that specific form at least, because it's got to be the most inconsiderate, curt way of requesting a favor out of someone. Mods list? That's what you're going to ask, just like that, point blank? How is that a remotely courteous way to open up dialogue with someone? Get the fuck out of here. I can't even answer that helpfully, because a question that basic suggests such a low level of experience with the game, which is fine because new people play all the time. But that means the only way I can provide insight is with a breakdown of like 50-something modifications and a 4,000-word user guide. I don't have it in me to help someone from fucking scratch. And even if that person has some experience with the game, the question is so vague and simple that it implies to me that they think I'm using some kind of secret mod, and I'm not. And by the way, nothing I cover in this video is going to be unique in any capacity. I'm sure there's plenty of other videos out there that cover this topic, and my version is not going to be any different. Same exact information as any other graphical guide out there. So I don't even suggest watching this. I'm not going to promote this. I'm not going to put a lot of effort into it. I just want something uploaded onto my YouTube channel that can sit there, and for people that do ask this question, I can point them in this direction. And if you have seen it, this is going to be really similar to my curbs and parking lot entrances video, in that if you're a new player, and I mean this in a really nice, respectful way, but fuck you. You are not wanted here. You never will be. No, I'm kidding. No, but really though, I mean, this is not going to be a super in-depth guide. I would assume that this is obvious to most people that are somewhat familiar with the game. So if you're kind of mid-level and you understand the mods and you just don't really know the right combination, then maybe this will help you. But this is about graphics only. I'm only going to cover the mods that affect how the game looks. And lo and behold, there's not that many. So many people ask, what graphics mod do you use? Well, you may be very surprised to find out how many there aren't. I'm going to do it this way. I'll take this church scene that I recently did and I'm really happy about, and I'm going to show it to you without any graphics filters turned on, and I'll slowly introduce them as the video progresses. And I'll make sure to show you everything in a real passive-aggressive and condescending way where appropriate, such as right now. I'll start with the obvious ones like Ultimate Eye Candy and Relight, but the latter, for example, I think has a dependency, which is Shadow Strength Adjuster. So, and number one, if you've never heard of these mods, I asked you in a very polite way to please leave my video. But number two, if you actually need to go out of your way to download these, read the pages, and if they do come with a dependency, then you have to download it. I'm not going to go through it separately. In my opinion, Ultimate Eye Candy is still the best way to control the time of day and lighting and the LUT, or L-U-T. I actually have no fucking idea how to say that, but you know what I mean. A normal person would just load a preset, but that doesn't seem to work that well anymore. So I'll do this all manually by hand, which is fine because I know this by heart. Coastal is my LUT, if that's how you say it, and I've been using it since it came out. I think it's really good, and I play with a really bright game, so my lighting settings are really high. Many people play with the opposite settings. The global light is really high, but the ambient lighting is low because I think they want to have really dark shadows to hide the lack of detail on their maps. And I don't do that because, well, I'm not a pussy and it just doesn't look that great to me. So I like dark shadows, but I don't like them to be fucking pitch black because I had a lot of props and trees and I want them to be visible. This looks atrocious still, so Ultimate Eye Candy is only one part of the equation. The next is Relight. Luckily for me on this one, the preset still works, so I can load up my usual one. And I'll let you take a look at my settings. Here we go. Here we go. This is far better. This is very close to what you would normally see if you follow my content. But we're missing something. We are missing a very vital component, and that is ambient occlusion. It's important because it makes one of the most dramatic improvements, but it's also something that people fuck up on a regular basis. It's like so powerful that you got to understand the right amount to use, because just a little too much. It's like you walk the fine line in between making something look really good and looking like shit. And I will get to that. Render It is the strongest one, and I'll apply this now with the maximum settings, which works best at this distance. It does come with a lot of other effects, but I don't really touch them that often. If you've seen a screenshot of mine, it probably doesn't have this. So the difference already is staggering, but it needs to be noted that there is another mod that does ambient occlusion, and that's post-processing effects. It's not as good because it doesn't work at the same distance as Render It. Like if you zoom out too much, the effect will start to fade away, but it's not to be pushed aside. Like I will double up on it like I'm doing now, and it's always good to have in your back pocket because sometimes the two of them combined can really enhance a scene. And the same with Render It. This comes with other options, but I don't give a fuck about them, so who cares? Now here's the thing. This looks really good for this distance. I'm going to demonstrate where people get this wrong. I see people post content like this, and it makes me laugh. And I think they discover this effect for the first time, and they have no idea how to properly harness it. The higher the ambient occlusion settings and the closer proximity you are to objects in the game, the more pronounced the effect is. And if you use it like an asshole, this is what you get. You get a fucking car that Rob Zombie would drive in a music video. You get a car that levitates on black mist. Who does this shit? Come on. Come on. In fact, I know who does it, but you gotta stop. It looks insane. This looks bizarre. I remember The Undertaker drove this car into WrestleMania 99. Oh God. And hey, to each their own. Everyone's got different taste, but if you do this, you're an asshole. I'm sorry to be the one to break it to you. We got to go back to this location really quick to do the sun shafts now. Obviously, this only works if you face the sun, but you can see how much of a big improvement it makes, at least in my opinion. I don't use it for the actual sun shafts themselves. I use it for the sort of hazy effect that it creates. And I just remember now, because I've been doing this long enough, I already know there's going to be someone out there that has just watched that. And because I didn't get into it that well, that they're not going to know the name of the mod, you'll never guess what it's called. It's called fucking sun shafts. That's it. People are always asking for like names of assets when the name is on the building itself. Show some initiative. Goddamn. And I did notice that I've been audibly inhaling throughout this commentary. And that is because my blood pressure is very high right now. Why do I gotta make this video? Why do I gotta do this? I'm struggling for air. Anyway, that's it. That's it for graphics mods. But you still might be looking at this going, well, hold on, that still looks different than something I would create. You know, how does he do it? And here's the twist ending and what this video is really all about. These quote unquote graphics mods are just filters. And the only thing that's going to make your city look good are the assets that you choose and how you choose to use them. Here, watch me remove every single tree. Oh, wow. Hey, watch me take all the props away now. Now the decals. My content will turn some people's heads because it has a lot of detail put into it. It has little to nothing. In fact, it has jack shit to do with any graphics mods. Now listen, I have no shame in admitting that I lost my job to this fucking pandemic and whatever. You know, these things happen. I'll get over it somehow. And I've had a lot of extra time to put into this game. Now, even saying that, even with you acknowledging that I have a lot of extra spare time on my hands, if I told you the amount of hours it took me to put into this specific frame right here, literally this church, everything on screen and only on screen, it would still be highly embarrassing. And this shot is running at about 30 frames per second with full LODs turned on. The only way for me to get close to a number like that is to work on an empty map. So what I did was, in the surrounding area outside of here, I've already removed all the trees and props. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to record this so easily at 100% speed. So the point I'm trying to make is that even if you have the time on your hands to put, this amount of effort into the game, is that you're never going to make a city that's going to be able to handle this amount of detail without having extreme performance loss. And I swear to God, I'm not making this number up. I could make a video on this, but there's really no point because most people tend to know this. If you put this amount of detail into a map, your game's probably going to run at like 4 frames per second, 3 frames per second, something like that. That is not just the reality of how I play. This is the reality of how everyone plays at this level. You can do this, but you will be limited to a very small city size. There's things like prop limits, tree limits. It's static. You can't change that number. The more you add, the slower the game becomes. There is no point to asking me or anybody else what hardware I run or what my graphics card is because it doesn't matter. The game is always going to run like shit at this level. The only component you should be concerned about is how much RAM you have because that's going to dictate the amount of assets that you can get. And that's all. And in terms of asking me, like how I choose to place my own foliage, I'm not Bob Ross. I wouldn't know how to convey these things. I just do it. It's like looking at an artist and going like, wow, I want to draw pictures like him, but you don't know anything about art. So you go to the artist and you go, oh, well, what paintbrushes do you recommend? It doesn't fucking matter because you don't know what you're doing. All the different graphics mods in the workshop, those are enhancements. Those are finishing touches. Like anything in life, and this is going off into some different direction, but like anything in life, creativity is what's going to bring you to where you need to go. The different tools at your disposal, well, you have to learn how to use them first. But if you have to have the mind in order to manipulate them to your advantage, it's the same thing for this game. We all have different uses for things, but you got to find your own use. You got to learn how to do it first. And another thing to remember in life, hey, you take this from me, never do drugs. Especially Oxycontin. Because I'll tell you one thing, it might be fun now. It might make City Skylines a lot more enjoyable, but it's not fun further down the road. All right, I'm going to end this on a high note and a low note. The high note is that this desert is supposed to be part of a YouTube series. I still got to flesh out a few more areas and then I can finally commence and get it going. I'm not going to start a series right away, but I'm going to start like a demo video to do like a presentation, see what the feedback is, and we'll go from there. The low note is that it's going to be a cinematic series with some form of commentary. It's not going to be a let's play or a let's build or whatever the fuck it is you guys call that shit. Because I have approximately 0% interest in watching someone else play City Skylines and talk about it. I have the same amount of interest in actually doing it myself. I think it's something that younger people are interested in, and that's not really the demographic I'm going for on here, obviously. And if you're an older person that's into that sort of thing, that's fine. I'm just not. If I made a list of things that I would rather do than create my own series like that or watch a series like that, most people would probably find it very disturbing. And what's funny is that if you subscribed to my channel about a year ago, you remember I did publish a video like that once. I did not enjoy making it. I made it under protest. And when I played it back to myself a couple months down the line, I was so put off by the idea that I had to take it off my channel. With this new idea I have and the atmosphere I'm going for, it might be worth showing me building some things sometimes, but it's not going to be the main focus of any of the videos, unfortunately. So I'm going to leave you like this. If you've come to this channel and you want to subscribe to like a build series, I'm going to encourage you not to subscribe at all. Hit a thumbs down or whatever and just leave. Don't come back. If you did subscribe to this channel and you still want to see those things, you could do the exact same thing. Bye. Take care.